All right, I'd like to go ahead and, my name is Ramsay. I work with Washington State University. And I'd like to go ahead, we had a session where we were talking about how we use videos in training. And we basically have 3 presenters today, and we're going to kind of talk about how videos can be used from anything from a little tiny snippet that you might put in a PowerPoint to feature-length dramatizations. And we have 3 speakers with us today. We have Darrell Kilgore, who actually is also from Washington State University. He's the videographer that I've used for the last 20 years in doing pesticide safety education videos. So he's an award-winning videographer. So he's had to put up with all this PPE and all this pesticide stuff, and he doesn't know anything about it, and he did a very good job with his nozzles and knowing exactly all the wrong things to do. And so he's going to kind of talk about what the different structures of videos are, kind of give us a background. And then we have Erin Bauer from Iowa State University. Did I just put you at Iowa? How about University of Nebraska at Lincoln? That's always a good way to do it, is make a mistake, and then you really know she's from University of Nebraska at Lincoln. And they used to do a lot of video conferencing in delivering pesticide safety education, and they've really done a transition in the last 5 years, and so she's going to talk about that transition, and they are the YouTube stars in pesticide safety education, and she's going to showcase some of her YouTube videos during the break. And then we also have Matt Peterson, who's with Orkin, and they have a huge training staff. Nobody's ever seen an Orkin commercial, I don't think. Okay, so they have this little tiny training staff that they have to deal with, and maybe a little liability issues. And so their focus on training is very different than what we would have as a safety educator. And so he's going to talk about how they work with an employee situation, because it really is a difference on whether we're talking awareness and instruction and what the responsibility is for the person making the delivery. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Darrell, and he's going to talk about the basics of video production.
All right, good morning, and thank you, Carol. Not only am I a glove model in my off time, but apparently I don't know how to clean nozzles, so I dabble in video production in the off time. So we will be talking about some very basic video production. We're not going to get into depth. I'm just going to hit the basics, and there's my contact information if anybody would like to talk down the road, have any questions. It's also in the booklet that you got with registration. So today we will be talking about different styles of video that you can use. Working with a planning committee, if you are having to do a video by committee, it's hard to do, but it's also advantageous at times. And then I'll make specific references to the decontamination DVD that we had made with Carol, using the Pesticide Broadcasting Network as our avenue to deliver the message. I'll make some references back to that. So the age-old question of where do I start? You have to loosen up that first cog to get things moving, and once it's like the writer's block you have to get rid of. Once you get a few questions answered, things kind of start falling into place. And some of those that you need to talk about first is the audience. You need to know exactly who it is that you are directing this message towards. And yesterday with the clicker, the clicker experience that we went through, I guess, that narrowed down a lot of the demographics in the room so that they could better tailor the questions and the information towards that audience. So you need to know exactly who it is that you are talking to. And you need to know pretty much who they are and how much they know about your subject matter. And that's going to help you determine where to send that message. You don't want to send it above their head or below their head, because they're going to disengage right away, and they will not follow you through the video if they feel that you're talking above them or below them. And then you need to know exactly what it is that you want them to take away from that video, because if you disengage yourself from the audience or you don't direct that message, then it's for naught. So you need to have all those questions answered. Before you put any film in the camera or any tape in the camera, you need to know what kind of content you're going to be developing. And the age-old question of the 5 W's and how. It's used in almost every aspect, marketing, writing, video production. You need to know, get these things answered so that you have a very good idea of where you're going with your production. Once you have those items developed and some of those questions answered, all this on paper, all on script, then you can start deciding what type of style to use. And there are a bunch of different styles, not just the ones that I'll list here. You can mix and match. You kind of need to determine what is going to work best for your audience and your message. So that style can be determined by the audience that you decide you're going to target, the message that you'll deliver, how in-depth that's going to be, how detailed, and you know, the type of message that you want to send to them. Money, both for production time as well as you know, start to finish. The money not only covers video production, but there's a lot of other aspects that are going to kind of bleed your budget as well. Time, both duration of the piece that you want to make. Are you making a short 2-minute little production piece, or is this an hour-long documentary? Those are going to help determine both the duration of your piece as well as the production time, because obviously it's going to take a lot longer to make an hour documentary versus a little recruitment piece that'll take 90 seconds. So you have to take those into account when you're developing this message for your audience, determining how much money it'll take and how much time you have. And then you need to determine your delivery method. That should be done up front as well. Are you going to be making an interactive DVD where the viewer is engaged and able to bounce around throughout the DVD and get different pieces of information, or is this a straight YouTube delivery where they go on and hit play? So you need to kind of have that determined ahead of time so that you can shoot and produce accordingly. Some useful video styles. We've all seen just the talking head, just the head and shoulder shot, straight information dissemination, and it's not that great to look at, especially if it's a short clip, you're okay. But the person is usually pretty credible, so you need to tend to believe that they know what they're talking about when they're on screen. You can also interject that interview with some narration and some B-roll or some footage, which you can use a narrator to jump from topic to topic or idea to idea and use some supporting video footage to support that idea. That helps you tell a little bit more of a story and have some video examples to go with it. You can go dramatic, create emotion, stir up some, tug at the heartstrings a little bit. You can tell a little bit of a story with that, but that's, you have to be careful with the drama, again, based on your message, to not go overboard or undersell it to where it just appears campy. You can have instructional how-to videos. That's kind of a chronological thing. That one also you have to be very careful, because if you are presenting yourself as the expert of showing something, how to do something, you have to make sure you get it correct. And that's where your committee or your content specialists come in to play, because I'm nowhere near a expert in PPE, and I don't ever pretend to be one. That's why I rely on Carol and her group when we make videos, so that when they tell me that yes, this is correct, then I understand that. You can make a documentary, short, long, but that's a good way to tell a story. We just heard a little bit ago, I can't remember who said it, about telling, making personal stories out of it. That it not only makes it a little more believable, but a lot of times people can relate a personal experience to that. So that sometimes soaks in with the audience a little bit longer or a little bit better. You can use promotional recruitment highlight pieces. Those tend to be a little shorter, punchier, a little more high energy, and quicker paced. They are, a minute, maybe 2 minutes, but those deliver a message much faster, and so the message needs to be a little more simple, but it's done at pretty high energy. And then awareness and overview. You're creating an awareness about a particular subject or a topic, or giving it an overview, and that can be tied into these other topics as well if you use drama or a documentary to present this, create awareness or an overview about this. And when you come up with your concept, there is no magic formula. You just have to determine, have a vision of what that message is and how you want to deliver that, and what the best delivery method will be based on who you determine your audience is going to be. So working with a committee, like I mentioned, it's committee, video by committee is hard sometimes. If you have 10 different people in the committee, you're going to have probably 9.5 different ways of doing things. So, but they can be advantageous, and the committee will help you develop that concept-based message. They're going to help you determine what information needs to get out there. and they'll help you work on the program structure based on that concept that you guys determine. They will support the production of the video by helping with the shooting schedule, the shot list, and they are the content specialists. Before you ever head out in the field, you need to have yourself a shot list so that you can make the best use of your time when you are out in the field. Kit talked about having a shooting schedule about having things done ahead of time, preparing your location, visit it ahead of time if you can, so you know where objects are, where buildings, where the sun sets, where your trees are, where heavy traffic is going to be. That's going to help quite a bit when you get into your production. And they are the people that will, these content specialists are the people that are going to be that first contact to get you onto somebody's property, a grower or a farmer who would probably be pretty hesitant to let a camera crew onto their property to see how their decontamination process goes or to see something. But when they see that content specialist come in, that person that they've worked with and they trust, that's your in to know that it's okay to be there. This is the Pesticide Broadcasting Network video that we had done. I talked about the PBN, the Pesticide Broadcasting Network, that we used to deliver. It's our TV station that we used to deliver the message to the audience. We started and ended with the CEO of the network addressing the audience. And then we used our local hero, Super Bee, to show up occasionally during the video and deliver some of the message. We knew this was campy. We didn't try to hide it. It was in your face campy. It's all over the place, but we wanted to have fun with it, and it worked. So on the left there, we see the 21 different segments that we created, and on the right-hand column, we also did this in Spanish, and so when if you plan on shooting this to be in another language, you need to be aware that you need to shoot more material. Spanish takes longer to speak than English, and so we had to have more footage. Be ready to shoot more footage so you can accommodate the extra speaking time that you're going to have for another language. So this decontamination video was created specifically, one of the highlights was to have 50 minutes of awareness video for use in recertification by the educators. That was one of the primary needs for it. Short vignettes for very specific types of training, gloves, goggles, things like that, how to use PPE. There were some very short segments in there that we used. Various styles to add interest. Again, it was campy. We had some humor with it, and it was just to sort of create a little bit of variety. And then, like Kit had made reference to, we did the 12-step program that was given. It was given more time. It was about 11 minutes long, and that was a very detailed, methodical, start to finish of the 12-step program of dirty to dirty and clean to clean. And so we gave that the 12-minute piece because it was very, very involved and pretty important. And some of the other goals for that were targeting multiple audience, other ag people, right-of-way people who deal with rights-of-way, and turf grass people. So it was able to hit quite a bit of the groups. And the top two pictures here are from the 12-step program. First one just coming out of top left, just coming out of the field dirty. Top right, again, washing some of the PPE, just one of the steps. Bottom left was an example. We created the shopping channel that we used to, again, it was campy, but we used it to, these two people sold the Magnum razor, apparently the best razor in the world to give you a clean shave so your respirator fits well. So apparently there's none other that'll do it other than this Magnum razor. And the bottom right was our superhero, Super Bee, talking to some kids that were at an on-farm barbecue. They were out playing amongst all the farm equipment, and he was there educating them that there's contamination out amongst the farm, so kids, be careful. The decontamination video breakdown, we identified the audience as pesticide applicators. The content was educational material about PPE. We developed the concept through the PBN, and the committee helped us produce the script, shot list, helped with the video production and post-production. and then we delivered the final piece on DVD. So with that, I have about a 1-minute piece from the 12-step program I'll show you as a video. And it was, the Pesticide Broadcasting Network had 2 anchors in the newsroom, Hugh Hydrate and Beth Benign. Changed the name so that we could, don't click it yet, it's right in the center. We changed the name to protect the innocent, but they walked us through in the PBN program, in the newsroom, they walked us through. So in this beginning of the 12-step program, we've already come back to them, and they send us out in the field to the roving reporter, Brick Walls, who is going to start introducing us to the 12-step program. So.
Thank you for joining us once again. It's time for a PBN News Update, live and in your face.
Hello and welcome to the final segment of our special Pesticide Exposure Edition.
Always the intrepid reporter, Brick Walls has an intriguing investigative report.
Thanks, Beth. I'm Brick Walls at PBN News. It suddenly dawned on me in my recent visit to Valley Hospital that I didn't know the proper steps that pesticide applicators need to take to remove and decontaminate their PPE. So, as a public service, we at PBN News have decided to create a 12-step program. Not that 12-step program. This program illustrates the proper techniques to remove, decontaminate, maintain, and store your PPE. We like to call it the Dirty to Dirty and Clean to Clean program. In other words, you only use dirty gloves to take off dirty PPE and clean gloves only to touch clean clothing.
So there was that. So it goes about 11 minutes to go through the whole process. So that is all I have.
Any questions for Darrell?
Yep, I have a question. Do you have any recommendation about any software or any equipment that you feel comfortable for the people like me? I'm going to jump to the field actually next Friday and do some video shooting. Was very rewarding. But my question is, do you have any software for editing or any recommendation that you can, talk about it a little bit?
Some consumer-grade software. I mean, the free stuff out there is Windows Movie Maker. That comes free on PCs.
Okay.
If you want to get into a fairly low-cost, pretty good software, Adobe Elements.
Adobe
either
Elements.
9 or 10 is out now, and that has it's some basic software. It does a good job, has music you can put in, titling, things like that.
Right.
It would certainly be sufficient. Those are $90, $100.
And there is any training course that you offer in Washington? This is a great a tool. I mean, people will be looking for, see if any possibility to enroll or register for a, short training. Do you offer any training for?
I don't have anything developed, but
yeah.
I can.
Okay,
So,
thank
absolutely.
you. Yeah.
Anything else?
Yeah, I have a question about evaluating the product. Do you have a pre-post evaluation for the video? So how you are testing how effective can be?
About this video? This has been done a little over a year, and we do have copies of that. We actually have some in the back. We've got some for sale back at the WSU Pub's office. So.
He's asking us how you evaluate the effectiveness.
Oh, how you evaluate? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Well, I'll have to leave that to Carol.
We'll talk about that at the end if we have time.
Okay.
But I think we'll move on to Erin.
Okay.
We'll come back to that.
Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the history of what the University of Nebraska has done as far as our video training. And what I call this is a traditional to creative approach. We've done a lot of the studio talking heads, and we did that for years. I've been with UNL for going on 8 years, and prior to when I came, they were pretty much doing the talking heads. And when I came, pretty much the first year I came, actually, we kind of decided we wanted to try some different new approaches. So we started doing the in-field interviews, and what I call this is the This Old House approach, where you go and basically talk to an industry professional and have them basically answer some questions and do it out in the field, so wherever they are. And this picture up there, this guy was at a railway station, and this was about fumigation in railroad cars. Then we also did some demos and how-tos, and as Carol mentioned during the break, we're going to show a few of the videos that we have on YouTube, including some of our demonstrations and then also some of the dramatizations, which is the last picture on here. And dramatizations, we are doing a lot more of those now, and that's where we use actors to basically demonstrate a certain topic. So our timeline basically was from all studio PowerPoints to a variety. So we might have a video that it might have some talking head videos, it might have some interviews, it might have some dramatizations all within one training video, just to give them some variety. And you want to really ask yourself, is this for awareness or training? If it's just for awareness, you can be more informational. You can maybe, for instance, training, you might want to show a video about using a particular gloves, which we have something like that, a demonstration if you're really wanting to teach them. Or you might use a dramatization, for instance, to teach them about WPS or make them aware about how to do a WPS notification, for instance. We do have a YouTube site, UNL extension PSEP. If you just type that into the YouTube site, you will pull up our YouTube. Okay, so what are some of the advantages of using dramatizations? We're going to kind of focus on dramatizations today. Basically, it's a very different approach to talking heads. It's something that a lot of applicators have not seen before, and so it kind of takes them by surprise. It's a creative way of presenting that PSEP material, and it might allow for the applicator for the message to stay longer with that applicator than maybe a talking head approach would. It also provides some simulation of real-life situations. So they see something going on in the field, like, oh yes, this is what we do, instead of just somebody sitting in the studio with some PowerPoint pictures. Your location is very important. Again, having an on-site location that's going to capture their attention probably better than just seeing somebody in a studio. Also with dramatizations, you can script everything ahead of time. That way be sure to cover all the topics that you're wanting to cover in that video. Types of dramatizations or styles, as Darrell put it. You have fictionalized real-life situations. Again, this would be something they might find themselves in that situation, so you're just doing a simulation of that. Based on true story, we don't use that quite so much. Moral stories or lessons, and spoofs and parodies. We probably use the first and the fourth one the most with what we've done so far. Then there are certain genres that you can use. Again, we have newscast, which is kind of what Darrell was showing there, and we've also used newscast. Sitcoms, talk shows, sci-fi, reality shows. We've used a reality show. But I'm hoping to use a lot of these different ones as we go along, because especially the ad commercial or like a movie trailer, we're kind of thinking about doing something like that. Here's an example of a dramatization, and this will be one that I will be showing during the break. The reality show What Not to Wear on TLC. It teaches people that really don't dress very well how to go out and go shopping and be more fashionable, I guess. So what we did was a parody of this called What to Wear, and it's basically about a person, an applicator who isn't wearing the proper PPE, and our two hosts teach him how to wear the proper PPE. So when you're choosing a type and a genre for a dramatization, you have to ask yourself, what best fits the concept? In some cases, a dramatization is not going to fit the concept. You might have a situation where a talking head works better. That's why, again, we try to do a variety. The very first dramatization we ever did was a WPS specifically about notification. And we did it for both a nursery situation and an ag situation. And I think these were maybe three minutes or so each. And basically, the way we set it up was we had, like in this case, this was a manager, nursery manager, talking to one of her employees. And you basically started with the wrong way of doing it. So we she didn't notify everybody she was supposed to. So she did it incorrectly. So you pause the video then for discussion, talk about what she did right, what she did wrong, and then you show the correct way. of doing it. Everybody she should have notified in the way that she should have handled that situation. Now, what about some of the other formats we've done? Well, in this situation, this was a specialist that we have at UNL. He was talking about red cedar and how to control those. Now, this situation, a dramatization, really wouldn't have fit the situation very well. This one was an interview/demo. So he was basically talking about it. He was demonstrating the tree, talking about, we did some B-roll thrown in there about different control methods. And so this was a scientific topic that worked best by doing an interview, or he could have done it in the studio. We could have thrown some B-roll in there too. That would have been another way to do it. This, another one, this is a step-by-step, and this is a very good way of training, a demonstration. So we did a respirator fit test short video. I think this one might have been about 7 minutes or so. And so basically I was being the Vanna White here, and I was demonstrating the respirator, and then my coworker Clyde Ogg, he was actually doing more of the narration and explaining the steps. And in this case, again, here's what to wear, and this was a general PPE discussion, and PPE lent itself very well to being done as a dramatization. Now, what about the response? We've done, I don't know, maybe about six dramatizations, and we have about 3 on schedule to do this year. It's gotten good reception at our Nebraska crop production clinics, and in that case we have people coming in who are certifying in ag plant. They're commercial applicators, but they're basically hired by farms to treat the crops. And we showed them the 2 WPS ones, we showed them the ag WPS one, and it went over very well. We also did a survey of our educators, our extension educators in the state, asked them what they thought, what they used, how they used the WPS video. 88% of those people said that it was very useful, somewhat to very useful in training, and 75% said they always used it in their training. It was also used as an example at our national pesticide meeting, and we had a lot of feedback telling us, or encouraging us to continue this format. So this is just a very quick overview of the actual process, and I could go into a lot more detail on this, and if anybody is interested in doing dramatizations in their organizations, I will have my email address up here at the end. Feel free to contact me and I can give you more information. But just to tell you about it briefly, first you want to just do more of an outline, lay out what concepts need to be covered, so what topics you need to cover. Then you want to develop your storyline more. What characters are you going to have? What topics are you going to make sure that they cover? And then you'll do your writing the script, and writing the script is probably what takes the most amount of time. Again, it allows you to cover everything that you want to make sure you cover in that topic area. After you finish that, you have your list of your characters, everything that you need. Then you can go ahead and cast actors and set your dates for when you're going to do your filming. And casting actors, that you can get those from the university. I have a huge actor base now. I have a lot of friends from Omaha and Lincoln who are actors, or who know actors, and so I've just kind of built a base over time. And there's acting organizations. Those are some of the places you can look to get that. You also want to scout your location, so if you need a field, or if you need an office, or whatever sort of location you need, you just need to look for that and talk with the location the managers and make sure that that's okay, that you film there. And then your final is the filming and editing, and we actually work with it's called educational media, but it's our videography department, which is similar to what Darrell does. And they do the actual filming and the actual editing, but we're there on site during the day of the filming. So some of the recent dramatizations, what to wear, as I mentioned, we did one on the Nebraska Department of Agriculture inspection video / pesticide laws and regs. Our previous pesticide laws and regs was a really long, like hour-long in the studio talking head thing. And so we made it into a bunch of different dramatization stuff, and it went over very well. We also have done integrated pest management in schools, because we do a lot of integrated pest management. So we did like about a half-hour program of that. Things to consider, again, some of these are a repeat of what Darrell said. There's the cost. You have to look at the cost. Time for cast, crew, and props. Finding your actors, that may take some time, and your locations. It is a longer time commitment than a talking head. In a case of a talking head, they might, if you're doing it or if a specialist is doing it, the time it takes for them to put their PowerPoint together and then go into the studio and do that, it's a lot less time than it takes to write a whole script. And a lot of times these videos, depending how long they are, you may have 2 days on-site filming for a dramatization. And then, of course, setting your dates that work for many people. And that actually has been the thing that's been the hardest for me, is the setting the dates. Because if you have a lot of actors, like say you have 5 actors even, I've had up to about 10 actors, 10 to 12 actors in a dramatization. Finding an actual date that works for them, you, and the videographer, that can be kind of, hard to do sometimes. But we've made it work, so. Okay, so with that, there's my email address again if you have any more questions. And if you have any questions.
Yeah, I have a question. For grant purposes, what time frame do you will estimate a project, you know, a particular project? How long do you think it will take if you're going to write for a grant and, you know, you want to put a time frame?
Well, the way that we do it, though, usually at the beginning of the year, January, we decide what videos we need to do for that year, and I try to have them completed by the end of the summer. And so, you know,
6 months?
Yeah, I would guess time frame wise, 3 months maybe. I mean, it depends, because like we probably film it in the summer, and then our videographer has it done maybe by the end of the summer. But that IPM in schools one, though, that we did, that was a longer, it was about 30 minutes. That was a 2-day shoot, and then actually it took our editor quite a bit of time because it was a longer video. I think he had it done in September, maybe. So it just depends on a 5-minute video. That shouldn't take any more than 3 months for them to get that done, I would say. So.
Yes, I have a question. Do you ever run into any legal issues as far as, say, copying a format, sort of like your what to wear?
No. I think it's fair use, the fair use law, if it's a parody. Because if you're changing names, and yeah, because you see spoofs and parodies everywhere. So as long as you're not, you know, using the real names of the characters and stuff, we've never had a problem.
I kind of figured that would be. And one other question, you and or Darrell, do you have any estimated cost per finished minute for productions?
Ooh, that might be more for you. I don't really know.
I'm Chuck Urban. I do all the video production for the Institute, for NIOSH. And they get me for free, so I'm an employee. I'm just kind of curious, because I do a lot of work, and I do a lot of shows, short clips, long things, boring interviews, the whole deal. Put things together by committee. It's very hard.
There are a lot of variables on what type of video you do and how involved they get, graphics, animations, actors, things like that. But a very rough estimate of you know, that's out there in the industry is somewhere between $1,500 to $2,500 per finished minute. So if you're making your 5-minute video, that gives you a rough idea. If you've got a 60-minute video, as Erin mentioned, it takes a lot longer to shoot, produce, edit. So.
Right. I think that's good to make that public announcement, because a lot of people don't realize what all goes on behind the scenes. And I heard numbers anywhere between $3,000 and $5,000 per finished minute.
I think if you go to the outside industry, if you're a contract outside, it's about $5,000. If we're looking at trying to buy in-house, we're looking at about $1,000.
Right. So everybody's aware that you know, you get a bargain here. Yeah. So.
Actually, I have another question along that line also. When you're producing these videos, you're using different manufacturers' product. Are you getting sign-offs from the manufacturers to use those in the videos? Kind of a legal question? No? I just asked that because where I work, we always have to get that. Our legal department says you have to have them sign off on using their product. So just a question.
But maybe what we should do is if we could use Gemplers or something like that, we'd have you sponsor it, and then we could have like the Gemplers and
Super B Gemplers or something? Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
So maybe you can
Yeah, we would need to go to the manufacturer to do that, but yeah, we do that all the time. So just a question.
Okay. All right, and we have Matt Anderson here from Orkin coming up next. Oh, Peterson, sorry.
All right, I always like to, is that too loud? I have a projecting voice, so sorry. All right, I usually like to start, I'll give Orkin a quick plug. I actually work for Rollins. Rollins is the parent company to all the companies at the bottom. Orkin is the most notarized brand. It's the most consumer aware brand because of all the commercials we do. But we also own, if you live in the Northeast area, Western Pest Control. If you are in the agriculture industrial fumigant company, which does a lot of commodity fumigations, ports when things are brought in from overseas, we do a lot of fumigation of ships and items like that. So I'll start with a little commercial.
Jennifer, Todd from BlindDateLove.com.
You don't look anything like your picture.
Yeah, that was taken years ago. What do you say we go back to your place?
Termites want in, Orkin keeps them out. No one is better trained to protect your home from termites. Orkin, keeping pests in their place.
I like our commercials, I'm sorry. We hired the Richards Group who does all of the commercials for Chick-fil-A, and they came up with the cow concept and things like that. So they come up with all of our concepts for commercials and things of that nature. Rollins has a lot of employees, as you can imagine, with all of our brands, and I'll go into some of the numbers in a minute, but we employ over 10,000 people in the United States alone. Orkin has operations in about 12 different countries now. We just entered China. We're in the United Arab Emirates. We're in Brazil, Ireland. So we're really expanding our international name as well. With that said, we have all of these employees that need PPE training. Now, some of it is just general everyday structural pest control, but then you have some where we do bicane fumigations with sulfurofluoride, methyl bromide, and things of that nature. And we sometimes have to ask ourselves the question, okay, does video training really get the point across of using a self-contained breathing apparatus or entering a structure that's just been fumigated? So I'm going to talk a few minutes about, how we determine what we can use and what we can get out via video and what we can't and what we need hands-on training for. My first introduction to PPE, I went to school at University of Florida, and I got my degree in medical and veterinary entomology and nematology. I think it was the longest degree title ever created. So I come out of school, and I go to work I needed some money, and I go to work for this really small pest control company in Florida. They had like 10 people. So the guy says, you're going to be our manager, our technical guy, and all this. And so I'm run home to my parents after work. Yeah, I still live with my parents right out of college. I was a loser, sorry. I don't still live with my parents, but so I go home and I said, Mom, I'm a manager. I can't believe this, a day out of college, and I'm already running the show here. So I show up the next morning, and the owner of the company gives me a ring the size of one of Kim Kardashian's earrings with about 100 keys on it. And he goes, you're the apartment manager. You get to spray all the apartments that we do. I'm like, oh, that wasn't really what I was looking forward to. So I take these keys and I knock on the door to the first apartment, and this little kid runs up, and he turns around. He sees me. I'm in my uniform. He turns around. And he goes, Mommy, the bug guy's here. I'm like, not a bug guy. So it's at the beach. I lived at the beach in Florida, and the apartment complex was right on the beach. And the owner of the company gave me this magic can called a B&G, and he gave me these ring of keys, and he said, just go spray. There was no PPE training. And so I'm spraying, and I got the fan spray going, and the breeze is blowing, and I'm spraying this product called Demon. And if anybody has heard of Demon, wettable powder is called Demon for a reason. But I'm spraying it, and I just keep getting this drift in my face, and I don't have anything on. I have like little goggles on, but that's it. So I go home that night, and man, I looked like, if anybody's seen the movie Along Came Polly with Ben Stiller, where he goes in and eats the Thai food, and he swells up like a balloon, that's what I looked like, and I had rags all over my head. So I knew the next day I should probably, there's something to this PPE. But the unfortunate thing is with a lot of small mom and pop companies, there's not a lot of PPE training. And so when I transitioned to the bigger companies, like I worked for Terminex for a while, and now with the work in Rollins, the PPE is a lot more, or the PPE training is a lot more developed. Now, early on, and with the small company I worked for, they stuck me in a room, put me in front of a bunch of VHS videotapes and books and said, here, learn everything you can learn about spraying and things like that in our training and what the Department of Ag requires, and you're going out into the field tomorrow. Now, though, with Rollins, we built that center. It probably cost around $10 million with everything that we've got in it, and it's about a 70 to 80,000 square foot facility. And this is kind of just one part of the facility where we actually have a video crew, we have 3 clocks that show different time zones when we have to transmit, to different areas of the country. With video training and being able to broadcast it to all of our branches, it's much more interactive than sticking somebody in a room, giving them a lot of books and things like that. Now, what we use is satellite-based feeds. So we've got satellite setups on each one of our physical locations, and we can beam those signals out and all that training out into the branch real time. Now, just a few key points. Rollins incorporates about 10,000 people in the U.S. We service 2 million customers. We work with a lot of different products, restricted use products, fumigants. We work with a lot of propane type situations when we're pumping heat into a structure to kill bed bugs, termites, and things of that nature. So again, we have to ask our question when we're doing our PPE training, is the guy just doing your basic everyday pest control out at your house, or is he involved in a dangerous situation that could result in a fatality? And that's kind of where we really, draw the line is, okay, how dangerous is this situation from an everyday use standpoint? Again, if anybody recognizes the product on the left, that's phostoxin. It has resulted in, quite a number of fatalities, one recently or 2 recently in Utah. And are they applying Termidor? Termidor, while it's a pesticide, you're not going to die from spraying it and getting some drift. One of the things we do with the PPE training is we can train on the basic products, respirators, protective gloves, hard hat usage, and things like that. Again, you can't train on, entering a fumigation, how to calibrate your equipment, from a gas standpoint and bicane standpoint. Chemical resistant suits, we generally like to do hands-on as well. And these are just some of the pictures. We have a television set up in every physical location that, Rollins owns. And those are actually some shots from one of our branches, and we set up question and answer sessions. So it's interactive. The branch will have a keypad, and every employee will have a keypad within the branch. So the person on the screen back here can ask questions, they can talk to each other, but then on their computer monitor, they'll see who's participating, what location, whether it's in Scranton, Pennsylvania, whether it's in Los Angeles, California, and the name of the employee. They can ask those particular employees direct questions, and then the employee can punch in the keypad. It's a voice system, so they can also hear the employee as well. We also keep this video on demand. So in each branch location, we have this box where an employee can go in and pull up a video. So with new hires, a lot of times we can go to the PPE section and say, okay, you need training on PPE, you need training on application equipment, and things of that nature. And determining factors, some of our, we categorize it pretty much in 4 areas from PPE, and is video enough? How dangerous is it? Like I said earlier, the health and safety of the customers, the health and safety of the employees, then the environmental impact. If you do a fumigation of something, and if anybody's ever worked with phostoxin, it can ignite, and it can cause some serious damage. And then it releases phosphine gas, and then phosphine gas can start to spread. And we've had issues like that, And so we look at the environmental impact, and, from that standpoint. Then we look at the financial liability, from both the customer and our corporation as well. Certain things can be done via video and DVDs and passing things out, to let people watch on TV. Again, certain things cannot. When a fumigator is requiring a self-contained breathing apparatus, there's no way we would trust just video training for something like that. I mean, that's got to be repetitive. It's got to be hands-on. And again, part of our training on videos, we do video clips that we broadcast, and that's just some still shots from some of the video clips showing a technician, wearing the proper equipment and things like that. Again, fumigation. This is actually, if anybody's from California, that's a house that was fumigated that exploded. Did anybody hear of that? Okay. 2004. So the explosion, they were treating for drywood termites, I believe, and one of the common things, it doesn't explode generally from the gas that's being pumped in. A pilot light will be left on, something like that will ignite, and then you explode. We also, if anybody has ever dealt with fumigation or you have not, with the introduction of Vicane gas, which is that label right there, the precursor to that, does anybody know what has to be introduced first? Chlorpicrine. Does anybody know what chlorpicrine is? Tear gas. So when technicians are handling that kind of product as well, that's cause for concern, and that's something else we would never do broadcast training via video and then give them a thing of chlorpicrine and say, go, that house over there, it's all yours. If you ever move to Mumbai, you really don't need to worry about PPE training. They have very relaxed PPE training, there. That's actually fumigation in Mumbai for malaria and mosquitoes. So that's, that's a lot of kind of relaxed efforts over there. And the question again is it basic training? A lot of from the ag standpoint and from the structural standpoint. If it's basic, yes, it can be done via video. If it's not basic, you need hands-on and repetition. And this is some of our fumigations. That's a commercial structure that we fumigated. That's a residential structure on the left. The commercial is on the right. With a self-contained, when you enter a structure after it's been tented, all you really need is a self-contained breathing apparatus on. 2 minutes, okay. But again, that's some of the questions you need to ask. And I will finish it up with another Orkin plug.
You were not supposed to be back until Sunday.
Rodents want to make your home their home, but Orkin keeps them out. Get guaranteed protection from rats, mice, and all kinds of pests. Orkin, keeping pests in their place.
All right. Any questions?